Hey, Clark Van Deventer here from Major Gifts Fundraiser. I've spent my whole career raising money for nonprofits and coaching development staff on how to have deeper and more meaningful and yes, ultimately more profitable relationships with their donors. I have taken a list of donors where the largest gift anyone on that list has ever given is $1,000. And I have found the donors who had the greatest potential and the greatest inclination to support our work, and I've closed $1,000,000 gifts from those donors, moving a donor from a $1,000 donor to a $1,000,000 donor. I've worked with development staff. Sometimes they've sought me out because they're lost and they're afraid their boss is about to catch on that they're lost. Or a boss has contacted me and wanted me to train her staff when she can see that her people are struggling. And I've gone in and I've worked with these fundraisers who, man, they are high quality people. They are passionate. They are high capacity. They care about the work. They care about what their organization is doing, but they are spinning their wheels. And I've gotten texts from these people late at night after we've been working together for months or even years in some cases. And I've gotten texts from these people late at night where they've just gotten back from dinner and they've just closed their first six-figure gift or their first $1,000,000 gift. And I've presented hundreds of hours of training to fundraising staff and executive staff and volunteers and board members. Organizations have paid me thousands of dollars to come in and give fundraising talks to their staff. And then 6 months later, they've paid me thousands of dollars again to come back, sometimes to say the very same things I said 6 months ago. People get distracted or they get busy, often busy doing good things, but not the most important things. Or sometimes fundraisers know all this stuff, right? Like all this stuff on your I'd like to do that list, all this stuff on the hypothetical to-do list. But what are the most important things? Where do you really need to spend your limited time? What are the few actions that are going to yield the best results? Like I said, I've developed hours and hours of training programs. I have one seminar I lead, a one-day seminar on the 5 keys to unlocking major gifts. I've distilled that whole training into 1 hour. A 1-hour program, 5 keys to unlocking major gifts. I'm telling you, this is possible. Having deeper and more meaningful relationships with your donors is possible. Relationships where the natural outgrowth, the natural next step is that the donor stands on their tiptoes and gives a gift bigger and more audacious than anything they've ever given before. I have a lot of fundraisers tell me they're not afraid to ask. They say it with some pride. And hey, I mean, good for them. That is something to be proud of. I mean, it takes nerve to ask for a gift. A lot of people, they'll never do it. But often, these same fundraisers who tell me they're not afraid to ask will admit to me that they're not having success. They're not afraid to ask, they're asking a lot, but they're not closing much. I want you closing 3 out of 4 gifts that you ask for. That's the goal. And you can do that with these 5 keys to unlocking major gifts. Here's what these 5 keys will do for you. First, you're going to retain more of your donors, and you're going to see marginal increases in giving from your existing donors. Now, I know, you don't want marginal increases, you want exponential increases. And good for you, I like that about you. But this is the first step. Like first, we just want to keep your donors. We want them to have a great giving experience with your organization. So you're going to stop losing donors. Stop spending so much time and energy on replacing low-dollar donors. Then you're going to see marginal increases in support from your existing donors. You are going to provide such a great giving experience to your donors that a few of them start to move up unasked. It's like these people are raising their hands and telling you, I'm a major gift prospect. So you have all these prospects and you want to meet your donors, right? You want face-to-face meetings. You want that, right? I work with a lot of development people and they get it. They want to be in the living room. They know how important it is to actually sit down and meet face to face with their donors, but they aren't having any success at getting meetings. With these 5 keys, you are going to get more meetings. When you get the meeting, your meetings will be more productive. I'm going to share with you how to give your meetings a sense of purpose. And believe me, I'm serious about this. Your donors will sense that you've come in with a purpose and they will rise to the occasion of the meeting. You are going to be a more effective storyteller. Oh, sure, everyone likes to say they know the importance of listening. Of course, listening is important. We'll talk about listening the gift, but I want to help you identify the listening preferences of your donors so you can tell your story in a way that they'll more readily grab onto. With these 5 keys, here's what happens. You end up with happy donors, donors who stay and who give more without being asked, donors who will take your meetings, and donors who will stand on their tiptoes when asked to give bigger, more audacious gifts than they've ever given before. You're going to be stronger, you're going to be more confident, you're going to be closing gifts, and you're going to understand the process you need to go through to close your next big gift, and your next one, and your next one. All right, normally, having the cost of having me lead one of these seminars is $2,000. So you want to bring me in and have me lead this seminar. It's $2,000. But I've distilled the best stuff from this training into a 1-hour program. I've taken what I normally put in a whole day-long training and I've distilled it. I've extracted the best stuff and I have created an hour-long program. You can have access to this training immediately. I'd love for you to take the next step toward finding the success you want in your career and that you'll download this training. Plus, I've got a couple of other things I want to give you. When I do these seminars, there are always 2 things that come up. People start telling me what they're doing with stewardship, the things they have in place to thank their donors. They want to know if it's good and if it's enough. So I created a Stewardship Basics scorecard. It's pretty simple. It's like any other test you ever took in school. If you get a 90 or better, you're doing pretty good. If you get a 60 or worse, well, you know what that means, right? The scorecard shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to complete, but improving your score, moving from a 60 to a 70 or a 60 to an 80, that does take some work. But it's such a great way to see measurable progress. But it's not about getting a good score on the Stewardship Basics scorecard, right? It's about having a happy donor who will be increasingly more loyal to you. Your donor retention rates going up so you're not constantly replacing low-dollar donors and donors giving you more without even being asked. In these donor interviews you just downloaded, we have one of our donors say, they thank me all the time and I give more. All right? She talked about the culture of thanks that was in place at this nonprofit, and she acknowledged that it absolutely made a difference in her giving. And I'm going to give you my Stewardship Basics scorecard. The other thing I want to give you is my massive list of strategic questions. So in the training, I talk about listening the gift and setting yourself up for success by asking good questions. Questions that signal to the donor where this relationship is ultimately going. I'm going to give you this list. And I'll tell you, if you just pick 3 or 4 of these questions and own them, made them your own, and you start asking them in meetings, you're going to immediately start having better meetings and seeing improved results. So you get those 2 resources in addition to the 1-hour training. Plus one more thing. I am going to throw in 5 hours of uncut donor interviews. So you've already received the report on why donors give, and you've downloaded the MP3 with highlights from the interviews. But these discussions It's like mining in a vein of solid gold. And it's incredible to listen to how these discussions unfold. So organizations normally pay me $2,000 to come in and lead a one-day seminar on the 5 keys to unlocking major gifts. I distilled that training and I'm going to give you the best of it, packing a punch in a 1-hour training program. Plus, I'm giving you my Stewardship Basics scorecard, my massive list of strategic questions, and 5 hours of uncut interviews with major donors to nonprofit organizations where they're talking about why they give. Scroll down right now and download this training, and let's get started.